If you're waiting for the conversation to feel comfortable before you have it, you might be waiting for the wrong signal.
Welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast, helping individuals and businesses unleash their potential. Join us every episode as host Adam Gragg discusses what is holding us back and how to find hope for moving forward. Along the way, we discuss developing healthy relationships and navigating life transitions while overcoming fear, stress, and anxiety. Live the life you want, the legacy you decide.
Welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. I am your host, Adam Gragg. I am a coach and a family therapist, founder of Decide Your Legacy in 2012. And what we do is help people stop avoiding the issues that they are avoiding so they can get clarity in their life, in their teams, in their families, and stop staying stuck so they can take action, because that's what changes things. Most people don't struggle with knowing what to do. They struggle with actually doing it, taking the action. And when those conversations that people are avoiding actually happen, everything changes. Decisions get made faster, and trust improves, and execution follows. So in this episode, just like in each episode, I'm going to give you 3 decisions that you can make right now. Clear, practical, simple decisions that you could actually teach to somebody else so you can make progress when it comes to having hard, courageous conversations. Now, just recently was the 4th of July, and I was at a big party around a bunch of strangers, and I ended up having a lot of conversations with people I actually didn't know. I had a couple friends that came with me, and they asked me afterwards, and I wasn't even really thinking this, but they said, Adam, how did you start these conversations with people that you don't know? It seemed like it was easy for you. And so I thought about that. And so I did start some conversations, but I would say that it's something I enjoy when I let go. It's something that I can be anxious about at times. I can actually not be anxious about at times. I wasn't really anxious that night about having these conversations. A little bit. I mean, I'm always somewhat anxious, but we're going to jump into that today so you can have and start conversations with people, because it matters to have conversations. I mean, people you know, people you don't know. Conversations we keep avoiding are usually the ones that, if we face them, would lead to positive change. So the first decision that I'm going to challenge you to make is to notice your tendency to want to avoid and actually start the conversation anyway. And I'll just share first. I mean, I went on vacation, got back a week ago, and on this vacation, I had actually 4 difficult conversations. 4, because I had one with my sister, I had one with my mom, one with my dad, and then one with somebody in a romantic relationship. A romantic relationship that is it's kind of ended. I mean, it could start up again one day, who knows, but it's definitely on pause right now. A great person, but it ended. So, but I had these conversations, and in every single one, I mean, they weren't necessarily dramatic. They felt dramatic to me, but every single one, I felt the pull to avoid. I felt the pull inside of me saying, it's going to go bad, it's going to be horrible. And in some of these conversations, it actually didn't go very well. I would say they all didn't go great, but they went not as bad as I thought they could have gone, but still not great. I mean, one I would say actually went a little bit worse than I thought. Don't mean to say that, but there's this pattern that almost everybody that we coach, that I've coached at Decide Your Legacy, I can see it's this desire to run from accountability, to run from the light, to not be seen with everything. I mean, to run from these hard conversations that could expose us, but that actually could hold us accountable so we can move forward and fix the challenges that we have. Avoiding feels safer than actually saying it and opening up the conversation. And the crazy thing is, having conversations with strangers is a way to practice having hard conversations with other people in your life. I've recorded over 200 episodes, and I think maybe 40 of them are on anxiety, yet I still struggle with this myself greatly. I've coached thousands of clients, And a lot of it is about anxiety. And I still struggle with it. I mean, the purpose of Decide Your Legacy is helping people live courageously, facing their fears. Yet I still struggle with myself. So I'm just saying that to let you know that this is a problem that's never gone away, won't go away in my life. And it's proof that it's really not just about willpower. This is a human condition kind of problem. And there's research on this. There's a lot of research on anxiety. But one thing that we found, though, is people can have this negativity bias. It's easier to predict something going wrong. And so when we're going to have a conversation with a stranger, we can predict rejection and ridicule and isolation and failure, whatever you want to call it. But most likely, it's not going to be that bad, and it's going to actually go better than we actually expected. The most likely outcome is more likely than the worst outcome. You can have bad outcomes. I mean, I have had situations that have been worse than I expected, but I still don't want to live there because most likely it's not going to be worse than I expected. And if I have, that's what we call a trauma response, because we've had one bad situation. We predict that it's going to happen again, but it really isn't. So most of what we actually avoid comes down to two big fears. We're afraid of creating conflict and that conflict going south and destroying our lives, and we're afraid of being exposed. Like, we're afraid of actually being seen. So our privacy being exposed, and then people using that against us. I mean, both are real, but neither means that a conversation should actually be avoided. It actually does mean, though, that we should put some time into preparing, because when we're anxious about something in the future, we prepare, we plan. When we're anxious about something that already happened in the past, then we understand them and find the meaning of what actually happened. And that helps us to prepare for the future, because when we figure out the meaning, we can realize that it's probably not going to happen again, just like that. So this isn't a personal attack on you who struggle with avoiding. I mean, I struggle, Troy struggles, my family struggles, my daughter struggles. I mean, I shouldn't speak for everybody here, but everybody struggles at times with not wanting to face scary things in their lives. But this gives you a great opportunity, because you know that everybody struggles at times. You can be a model by being willing to go first and willing to have the hard conversation, willing to put boundaries in place, willing to bring up the topics that you know are going to make people uncomfortable, not for the purpose of making them uncomfortable, but for the purpose of leading towards change and growth and prosperity and progress. So here's the point. Don't avoid. Lean in. Try to have the conversations. Now, so at this 4th of July party, I went to this massive 4th of July party at my friend Jamie's, who I'm going to have on the podcast. It was so cool. It was the best private fireworks show I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was like a professional, real freaking show. I mean, this thing was amazing. And I'm not exaggerating, although I am an exaggerator. I'm not exaggerating. But I was there with some friends, and they said, Adam, dude, why does it seem so natural for you to have these conversations? We were having this on the way home, and actually we were using the legacy jar, which these are actually out and launched and kind of cool. 107 questions. We were using the legacy jar on the way back, and it brought up a good conversation, and someone said to me that it seems easy for you to have conversations with strangers. And so I thought about that for a little bit, and I thought, well, and I didn't drink at all. I mean, it was, I want to talk to you today, how to have conversation starters for people that aren't drinking. Because people can actually think they're really loose and have conversations when they're drinking. And actually, if you're sober at a big party, it's really funny to see how people think they're really smooth and they're actually not nearly as smooth as they think they are. And so it's kind of awkward, but I was sober. I mean, but anyway, what did I do to help me have these conversations? I'll think of a couple things. One was that I just made comments on things. So if I noticed somebody had a cool shirt on, if I noticed that there was this really cool 4th of July display, very patriotic, and I made a comment on it. I saw a friend there that I know loves golf, and I talked about a hole-in-one that I got a month ago, which actually is true, did happen. 143 yards, par 3. I got it in the hole. I can't believe it still today, but I just started making comments about things. And I'll even do that with strangers sometimes, where I'm in the airport and I'll just make a comment about, hey, I can't wait to get home and see my dog, whatever it is. Just make a comment. Another thing that helps is to have a question that's curious, genuinely curious about something that they're wearing, something you notice about them, something that they've expressed an interest in that you picked up on, and then you ask them a question about it. Great thing. And the third thing to have conversations that I thought of actually when Nate and Nathan and Tara asked me that question about how I connect with people that I don't know, was just don't hesitate. Like, just don't hesitate, man. Just go do it. Like, seriously, if you see somebody that's interesting to you, just go ahead and talk to them, because like they're probably lonely as well. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I don't have it all figured out when I go and talk to strangers, but I do want to mention something about the legacy jar. Quick little break here. So this is the third version. We are actually selling these, so you can go to our website. You can hit the link in the podcast. There's instructions with 17 ways to use this sucker. I started selling these with my daughter when she was 4 freaking years old. She is 19 years old. This third version, it's new and improved. Again, these are questions that I have asked clients for almost 30 years in my career that help them to open up and get below the surface. So this was originally made for helping teams connect, families connect, icebreaker type stuff. You can check it out, and it's exactly really what we're talking about. How do we get people to connect on stuff that will help them to see that they're human and it's okay, and people would like to get to know them, and that they have a lot to share, and that they're worthy. That's what this is. It's going to show you that you're worthy and your kids are worthy. And I'm getting so much cool feedback on this right now, because it's showing people that there's a lot more depth to them and their families and their teams that they can get at, that can start opening them up for the bigger conversations. It's an icebreaker. Let's solve problems. That's what we do, is we help teams talk about the stuff they're avoiding so they can get below the surface and actually solve the problem, so they can function better as a team, as a family, as coworkers. So if you ever sat across your family at the dinner table and wondered what to talk about, or your team wondered how to have an icebreaker with your team, I got the solution for you. It's the legacy jar. So the second decision that I want to challenge you to make when it comes to starting conversations with people that you don't know is redefine what having a good conversation or going well actually means. So redefine what that actually means. I was talking to my buddy Brent yesterday, and good friend. We have coffee every other week together. And he told me, I was asking him about his marriage, and he said that had been going well lately. And I was interested to know what he was talking about. He's been married for 25 plus years. I feel like he has a good marriage. I know his wife. They're cool people, great kids. They got 6 kids, just a cool family. Now, but we're good buddies, and we talk. So, but it was funny because he mentioned that there had actually been more conflict in his marriage over the last year, yet there's also more peace in his marriage over the last year, which is kind of interesting. It's like conflict and peace does not equal the absence of conflict. It's like alignment on a team does not equal the absence of conflict. In fact, if we don't have any conflict, we got a problem. We want to have more conflict in most cases, not chaos, not brutality. But if you look at it on a continuum with like passivity and utter brutality on one end, you want to be to the right of the middle on that continuum when you have healthy team dynamics and healthy relationships with your spouse, your kids, your family, your parents. Interestingly, I'm in some tension with my parents right now, yet I do feel some sense of peace because I do believe we're having conversations about the real core issues. So I'm hopeful. Interesting thing. So conflict does not equal, the absence of conflict does not equal peace. I mean, it's like you want to have conflict. It's like, okay, Brent, some good things are happening because there's more conflict. Even happened last week with a leadership team. I call it, the top leaders of a medium-sized company in town. We met last week with Kelsey, who's an assistant legacy coach, and it started off like super uncomfortable because one of the guys who's a top executive, I would say the COO of the organization, had been there for like 35 years, a long time. He really was questioning. We meet once a month for 3 hours, so basically half a day. And the purpose of those meetings are for these core issues to be addressed and to come out. We talk about them. Hey, it's just it's kind of like a family, a leadership team of a company. And he was questioning how helpful, it's the beginning of the process of this coaching. He was questioning how helpful it was going to be for us to sit there when they could be out in the field, working on projects, working with their employees, being out there, getting stuff done. But now they're sitting in my conference room having a conversation about some touchy-feely stuff. And so he was questioning it. And I told him, well, by the end of this meeting, I think you're going to know what the value actually is. And I was uncomfortable because it was conflict, even just with me in that moment, because he was questioning my validity as a coach and Kelsey's validity as a coach. But sure enough, it brought out some real conflict between two of the people in that room that by the end of that meeting led to some peace between them, because they were able to reconcile and create a plan to move forward, communicating with all the other employees throughout the organization. There's 70 plus employees in this organization. A lot of other people's livelihood was at stake. And so they were able to have the conflict so they could lead to actually having some peace. Really cool stuff. So you have to redefine what going well means if you're going to be able to start these conversations with people. If you're waiting for the conversation to feel comfortable before you have it, you might be waiting for the wrong signal, and you are waiting, and you are going to be waiting for a very long time. So decision number 2 is to stop measuring the conversation's success by how smooth it feels and start measuring it by how honest it is. Start measuring the success of the conversation by how honest it is. Were you honest in that letter that you delivered? I actually gave my parents a letter that explained some concerns and asked them to read it with me present and then see what questions they actually had. And I thought that was a different approach for me, because I can get highly emotional with my parents when I get frustrated about things that have been, from my perspective, lingering challenges in our relationship. I'm 52 years old. My mom is 78, my dad's 87. It's not, but I still have a relationship and love them, and I interact with them, and I want to have thank God they're, very healthy. So I'm grateful for them. So the third decision, if you are going to have these conversations with people and be willing to start them, the courageous ones or the ones with people you don't know, then what I'd encourage you to do is to go in with some sense of clarity. Like, when you have increased clarity in your life, your confidence is going to increase. That's why having some kind of a plan will give you some level of clarity so you know how to approach the situation. Having a plan for a meeting, for example, having a plan for getting a certain project done, having a plan for a podcast, a script. Clarity gives you confidence. So go in with some level of clarity. So when I was at this 4th of July party, this large 4th of July party, it was, to go back, it was probably 400 or 500 people. The top Republican candidate for governor was a speaker. My friend, it's a corporate client kind of thing. I knew it's a client situation, but real top level, cool person who spoke, gave this whole presentation on the 4th of July. It was a very unique party, but a lot of fun and very well done. 2 cool food trucks. It was like free food for everybody for the whole party. It was crazy. It was way good. So Troy's opening his eyes real quick. He likes food. He's the podcast executive. Podcast engineer is liking that. Yeah, I'll have to tell you what it was. The food trucks. So if you're going to go in, the question is how do you get some clarity? I'll give you an example. So I'm a beginner golfer. I would just say I played, a couple times a year for a long period of time, but didn't focus on getting better. Just went out and hacked it on holidays, whenever I was invited. I'm just not a good golfer. So in August, I decided to take it seriously. So I joined a club, Reflection Ridge Country Club. It's a golf club, whatever. And so I put some energy into it. I've taken 2 lessons so far. I'm playing in the men's league, but I freaking got a hole-in-one. All right. And I never thought that could have happened. You can buy insurance for it, because when you get a hole-in-one, I didn't even know this until right that day, you got to buy drinks for everybody that you're playing with and in the clubhouse for the rest of the day. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to get a hole-in-one, but I didn't buy that insurance. But I'll tell you that was luck. I did hit it well. I did try to hit it well, but I know that I hit it towards the pin, but I know I got lucky to get it into the hole. Kind of cool. But I will say that if I want to become a better golfer, to deal with the anxiety that I have, I need clear-cut plans, not to reproduce a hole-in-one, but to actually improve my swing. And so yesterday I read his book called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, which I actually read like 20 years ago. It's a sports psychology book. So I read it more as like a clinician than as a golfer back then. But it gave me a couple things I could work on to improve my game that made a lot of sense. They gave me clarity. And one was to practice really short, like 2 to 4 foot putts, because you want to get a feel for the ball going in the hole. And even psychologically, that made it just kind of the lights went on. I'm like, I'm going to practice these 2 to 4 foot putts because I want to see the ball go in as much as possible, because that does make me start believing that I can get the ball in the hole on these putts. And that made a whole lot of sense. That hole in one did not give me confidence I'm making another hole in one. But putting the ball from 4 feet and making it is going to give me more confidence so I can make shorter putts. And even some other things as well they gave me the clarity on what I could practice. That's why I like watching golf videos. That's why I like watching short videos. They're starting to give me clarity on what I can do to improve how I'm going to approach situations. And that's exactly how these courageous conversations work. That's exactly how these conversation starters work with people you don't know and people you actually do know. You don't need certainty that it will actually go well, but you need some clarity. And what you actually think and what you're actually asking for, you need clarity on how you're going to approach the situation. You need clarity on what kinds of questions you might ask. You need clarity on what you're going to do if they're rude and how you're not going to take that personally. You need clarity. Clarity is a golf club. It's like the golf club in your hands that I'm talking to you about when I'm putting, right? Doing this little putting drill. So I had some, and I do have some clarity that I can tap into when I start up conversations with people. I do have some clarity I can tap into when I'm coaching people, when I'm doing a podcast. I have a speaking presentation. It's a freebie thing, marketing, this thing called 1 Million Cups here in Wichita, and I think you'll be able to watch it online. And I mean, it's not a freebie. I mean, it's like not a normal, it's not a captive audience, it's not a company, a corporate event, which is normally where I will go and speak. It's a situation where there's exposure to a lot of different types of people. And I know that if I have clarity on even thinking, I've done this before and I believe in what I'm talking about, I get to have an opportunity to challenge people to face their fears. I get to talk about something I would just love talking about. It's facing your fears. Stepping out, reaching out, connecting. I love that stuff. That's the clarity that I need. And sometimes interesting thing is that in my coaching conversations, I have found for a long period of time, I would say like, I can't use AI. I can't use Claude in a coaching conversation. That just seems wrong, right? It just seems, I can't use Claude in a conversation that I'm going to have with my parents on formulating a courageous conversation. But I started to jot down all my thoughts and then realize that I could use AI to help me sort through. They're my thoughts. It's my original content. They're my questions. They're things I want to share, but it's helping me formulate it in a way that I can communicate it with more confidence. And I'm finding that incredibly encouraging. I also a little bit paranoia. I have some paranoia as well. Like if somebody asked me, did you use AI to formulate this conversation? Like that to me is would be like a slam on my character, but really is it? It's not. Because if I'm taking the time and putting the energy into wanting to have an intentional conversation with people and wanting to connect with people at a deeper level, then it's still my original content. It's just AI helping me clarify it in a way. And clarity, again, will give you confidence. So I have a great challenge for you. It's actually a course that we sell for $47, believe it or not. And it's called Shatterproof Yourself Light. These are videos and a workbook. I'm going to guide you through some of the best content that I've put together over the last 30 years in helping clients find clarity in their own lives. You can go through that with your team, go through that with one of your teenagers, go through that with your spouse, and it's going to walk you through you're going to be at the very end, you're going to just feel like, okay, I have a little more confidence, maybe even a lot more confidence, because it addresses emotional health. It addresses having a healthy perspective. It addresses your self-worth. And these are all things that play into you being willing to step out and have a courageous conversation with a stranger or with somebody you care about to actually deal with the stuff that's holding you back. So in review, 3 decisions you want to make, Troy. Notice the avoidance and actually lean into it and have the conversation anyway. Be the one that goes first. Number 2, Troy, is redefine what going well actually looks like. Don't have this perfectionistic mentality. And that's what I wanted to challenge Brent on, and even my friend Alan as well. I talked to him yesterday who had a difficult situation as a boss with a coworker, but he's glad he actually addressed it. And so that's number 2, redefine what going well means. And then remember that peace and alignment aren't the absence of conflict. And number 3 is walk in with clarity, not certainty. Be okay just having some clarity and find confidence. And you will find confidence when you have more clarity. And you can do some things to get more clarity. One of those is go through Shatterproof Yourself Light and invest the money and time and go through it. You can also purchase a legacy jar because that will help you find clarity as well. Clarity with people you work with and in your family. So I also put together something special for you just for this podcast number 201, which, kind of side note, we just passed 50,000 downloads, actually 51,000 downloads. Yesterday was our biggest download day that I can remember ever. No, the 4th of July, biggest download day I can remember ever. We had 200 and I believe 47 downloads in one day. That's not the norm. I mean, it was almost 250, which would have been really cool. Maybe it was on the 4th of July. And they were all for one podcast, 2 podcasts, the most popular ones. One's on journaling, one's on asking great questions. So it kind of relates to this topic as well. But that's the deal. So but the article I put together just for you that's special is on 27 best conversation starters. So real usable questions that you can start and use to ask other people right away. And they're broken down into categories so you can have a cheat sheet basically as you go into having conversations with people. So you want to check that out. You can get the cheat sheet. You can print it off. You can follow through with that. 27 great best conversation starters from my experience as a family therapist. So what insight have you gained from this podcast today? I want you to identify what that insight is and commit to taking an action before the end of the day. Taking an action means, and it can mean just following me, subscribing, giving this podcast a rating and review. To decide means you're eliminating other options. Your legacy is the impact that your life has on other people. There's no positive change until you decide to change. And I want to challenge you before you go. If nothing changes after this episode today, it wasn't the content. It was your willingness to act. So what are you avoiding? Like, is there a conversation you're avoiding? Is there a decision you're avoiding? Is there some situation you know you're avoiding? I want you to go ahead and step into that situation. Don't overthink it. Don't over-prepare it. Don't wait for clarity. You decide, because there's no positive change until you do, and your legacy depends on it. So live today the life you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I will see you next time. And I'm grateful for you.